Hi everyone. Just wanted to give you a real quick update on something. I was just sent the minutes from the school board meeting that actually transpired yesterday. And while I already kind of briefly threw a thumbs up earlier, I wanted to actually comment about one part in particular. And I don't know how to share visual aids, so I'm going to put it in the comments, a picture of what I'm referencing to. But these are the actual minutes that you can get from the website at Middlebury Community Schools. And this was the minutes that were taken after yesterday's meeting. Of all the people that showed up, here is all that was given towards the huge public outcry that was present there. Here's the response from the school board directly. Under the expressions from patrons, Pam Kaiser asked questions about high school credits, dual credit AP classes, books at NHS, and a former employee at Northridge High School. Thank you, Pam Kaiser, for going and asking, first of all, so I genuinely appreciate you. Response from President Hummel. Our board will not be responding or commenting on the specific topic regarding a former and disgruntled employee who did choose to leave our school district approximately a year and a half ago. However, I will acknowledge that our board is aware that there is a no trespass order. The cause of issuance is an effort to protect the safety of our students. I'm going to come back to that one. Our faculty, as well as the individual with whom the no trespass order pertains. They were trying to protect me. While I appreciate concern, we will not speak further on the topic, comma, it would be inappropriate. That was the intent, and that's all that's listed. Like, they shut down after Pam asked one time about me. Pretty much anything else anyone else would want to ask about it. I'm going to ask you a question, people. When you have a conversation that you have a topic that you want to discuss that you're concerned about, especially when it comes to your kids, and you go to the people who are supposedly running the school that runs your kids, and you say, I have a concern, and they say, we're not going to comment. And then more people have the same concern, and they say, well, we appreciate it, we're not going to speak further because it would be inappropriate. I'm calling you out. President Hummel, ma'am, I don't know you. You have not been the president of the school board that long. You've been there maybe on the school board itself a couple of years total from what I remember. Maybe it's been 3 or 4. I'm sorry that, time to get away. But as much as I'm sharing my truth on my stuff, I'm going to accept this as a response to all of the questions that I had asked you, since you won't respond to me directly. So if I were speaking with President Hummel and I reached out to my concerns, the first thing I would ask is about the cause of issuance. And I would ask about him in great detail specifically, because they chose to make it impossible for you to ask things in great detail. Have you noticed that? Remember when I told you they would do that? Shocker. All right. In effort to protect the safety of our students, that's why a trespass was ordered. I would lay every penny that I own on the ground right now for you to ask any of my students that I've attended graduation with, or been at a graduation party, or anything at all, if I would have been a danger. I'd want to hear their response. I have yet to be told to this date by anyone that I'm a danger to children, including the police officers who interviewed me after I arrived at the high school prior to the board meeting and spoke to Mr. Wood about my concerns. After they were done talking with me, Mr. Wood assumed I was a threat or a concern. I asked the person, it was Ray Caples. I asked Ray Caples, and I love Ray Caples because he's a straight shooter. Kind of like how Shots was in my mind until he stopped being a straight shooter. So I asked him flat out. I said, Ray, I said, you've known me for as however long as you and I have worked here. Would you ever perceive me as a threat or a danger to any of our children for any reason at all, ever? And he looked at me and he was already shaking his head no. And he's just like, you are not a danger to children. Now, that was in that moment. Things change, conversations happen, whatever. But I'm going to ask you why, Middlebury Community Schools, President Hummel. Why was the safety of your students in concern with my attendance at graduation? Why? Answer the question. Don't hide behind a political statement. Secondly, our faculty. Your faculty needed protection from a guy who down the street was running around and he got knocked on the knuckles by a 4-year-old girl and screamed out in guttural pain and had the time of his life after the ceremony was over just playing with kids. That's the man that's going to be a danger to your faculty? Or is this the same faculty that said to you, if Mike Mollahan is allowed to show up at graduation, I won't be there for fear of my safety? Which it translates to, we're not going to show up for work the next day because we don't like him. And if he shows up, don't expect us to show up. And if we're not going to show up, you're not going to have a graduation. That was also told to me by Officer Schatz during the hour that we spoke. Yeah, we're the trespass orders because there are people that we need to actually attend graduation. They're afraid to attend graduation because you might show up, so they're threatening to not come into work. I'm sorry, did you say that professionals at your school corporation are afraid of someone by what they're saying so badly that they actually can choose not to fulfill a contractual obligation? Their feelings matter that much, but when I expressed my feelings about how I was being treated by you guys to the point of severe mental anguish, you wrote it off and dismissed it. Why do they get a pass and I don't? I'll ask the question, President Hummel, is it because they're female? Some of my kids have asked that question. Is it because I did something that you can actually prove that puts me as a danger to the kids or the faculty? Do you have any evidence based whatsoever on this response? Because I still have so many more questions. Now, the biggest question I have is you put a trespass order on me to protect me. The cause of the issuance is an effort to protect our students, our faculty, as well as the individual with whom the no trespass order pertains. You put a trespass order on someone to protect them. Are you insane? Like, I can't make this stuff up. You're writing a bad comedy, and you're sitting at the height of academic excellence, at the pinnacle of a school board, and this is what you're coming up with? This is your stance? And when intelligent individuals want to ask further because they don't believe you, your response is, we're not going to speak further on the topic because it'd be inappropriate? All right, I'll ask that question. What's inappropriate about it? I'm pretty sure the whole board meeting is designed for patrons to show up. Literally, the title is Expressions from Patrons. An entire section of the school board where you are legally obligated to listen to your community when they have concerns. And you just shut them all up with a sentence. There could have been 50 people wanting to talk about that same topic, and because you determined it to be inappropriate, they don't get to voice their truth or their concern. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it louder. Shame on you. You're an embarrassment right now. Everything that you keep saying and doing further proves how immature you have handled this situation because you've made knee-jerk reactionary decisions based on no evidence, based on things that people were saying or feeling that you didn't even really take the time to look into. And while the school board was aware that a trespass order was issued, were you aware that it was issued 3 hours before I was attempting to actually attend the graduation event? If so, I'd be curious to know how you feel about that. I'd also like to hear anything about why you guys didn't do the live stream, which wasn't mentioned in here at all. But what I'm hearing on the other side is there was a copyright issue. Well, the mic drop already took care of that one. So if there's a copyright issue, you got to answer for that. Your one sentence in this minutes, or in these minutes, has proven how shady you guys are and how much you don't want the truth shared. And the only reason you're saying not to is because you feel it's inappropriate. Well, what if we don't? What if there are moms and dads and kids right now that want you to answer questions that are appropriate to them because they think an injustice is done? Because you determine that not to be appropriate, it's no longer allowed to be talked about? Thank you, Middlebury Entitlement Schools. You have proven my point. I rest my case. Mic drop. I'm embarrassed by you. You represent some of the best students that I've ever worked with in my entire life, and some of the most compassionate families I have ever worked with in my entire life, and that's what you come up with. Shame on you. President Hummel, if that's how you actually feel, instead of being politically coerced into saying that as a statement, shame on you too. I thought you to be someone a little more critical and analytical thinking and not so quickly to shut down an opposing opinion. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's why some of the people voted for you to be on the board, was because there was already enough people on the board that were doing that. You're supposed to be one of the fresh faces that's actually supposed to be a picture of moving in the right direction, as is Dr. Jason Snyder, as is Mr. Varner. Like, you're not doing your job. And you're getting away with not doing your job by doing your job. I can't spell corruption better than MCS. In fact, my favorite thing that I came up with was the title of this entire saga, the Middlebury Entitlement School Saga, or as I've abbreviated it, The Mess. I was upset when you denied children the ability to speak their truth. I was upset when you denied me my ability to speak my truth. I'm upset now that you're stopping the community members from showing up and sharing their truth. In fact, the only truth we get to seem to hear and not question is yours. I went back and I looked up again after Mr. Ney did such a wonderful speech at graduation, and I love Mike Ney, also one of the best educators when it comes to understanding corrupt politics. He teaches it to his kids so that when they go out and become working adults, they're not taken advantage of corrupt establishments. When he teaches about what a totalitarian regime is, it's a regime that will stand at the top of something, deny all truth coming from beneath it, regardless of its validity. It won't even give it breath, and they'll try to squash it so fast because it has the potential to remove control. And right now, your school systems control you, Middlebury Community Schools. They control what you see. They control how you see it. You know what? That's it. I'm done. We're starting a new segment. You're going to see it. It's called Mike's Drops. These are going to be individual discussions and expressions of the absolute corruption that is Middlebury Community Schools. And I'm calling people out now. In fact, I think I'll start with Dr. Robbie Goodman. Because the last time we spoke about him, there was some stuff going on that nobody wanted to know about that he did that is some of the most corrupt in the world. In fact, I'm going to throw that on tonight. I'm going to probably throw that mic drop up tonight after reading this, just because, and we're going to start, and we're going to keep going forward. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight my truth, my experience working with every single person that I've worked with who has shared or confided in me something that at the time I'm sure was very, very kept secret for the image of the school. The image of the school is what led to me to a point where I almost didn't want to live anymore, so I'm no longer going to keep that confidence. You've broken my trust, Middlebury Community Schools, and therefore the trust that you've placed in me is also broken. Prepare for reality in a way that you're not ready for. And everything that I say, trust me, ask me if I'm afraid, look at me in the eye. I'm ready to go to court. Take me. There's a bigger voice there. I'd love to answer any questions in a public law forum where you don't have the ability to shut everything down in your little Middlebury Community Schools boardroom, which is the only place you can keep control anymore, because you ban people from showing up on the campus that will threaten that control. Thank you for doing my work for me today, Middlebury Community Schools. I can't write your responses better than you're actually doing them to prove how corrupt you actually are. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Woo! Proud of you. Could not be less proud. I'm ashamed that 8 years of my career as a school counselor is going to be associated with your name. At this point, ugh. And that's sad because there's so much great about Middlebury Community Schools. There is tons. The children, the community itself of genuine people, like, there's tons. And you're a toxicity inside of it. That's probably what allowed the toxicity to happen to me, and what allowed for the toxicity to happen to John Homan, and what is allowing the toxicity to continue happening next school year, which is going to provide an environment to produce, guess what, another John Homan or a Mike Mollahan who's scared to death to keep working, that he bolts. You're not doing enough. You're not answering the questions that your community wants. You're failing. And I don't know much more of what I can do right now other than vent my truth like this. But if I find out that I can do more to try to tackle this corruption, bet I'm going to do it. Thank you, President Hummel, for your response to Pam Kaiser's questions about a former employee at Northridge High School. I have found your responses to be inadequate and unsatisfactory towards the concerns the community produced at your board meeting. As such, since your board attorney, Mr. Hesser, was not present, I'm kind of curious, which legal representation would you like me to discuss things with on your community not feeling like they can have a voice heard? Because if they're not willing to fight for themselves on it, I will. I've got nothing less to lose. You've already taken everything from me. That's a mic drop. That's a very hard mic drop and a very loud mic drop. And I'm hoping it reverberates. And if there are other people that are not satisfied with this response, if there are other people that think that the school corporation is getting away with stuff that they should not, and they want to stand up and want to fight for it, I support you. I do. Where do you want me to go? I'll show up. I'll show up with a big old poster and a loud voice. There will be no violence. There will be not a single shred of anything we're going to put anybody's life in danger, but there's going to be a loud outpouring of truth that nobody wants to hear. And I'll be there. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for the kids that can't do it for themselves. And I'll be there for the rest of the community that wanted to speak at the school board meeting that President Hummel decided to silence. That's the mic drop for today. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.